Hello, wonderful people. I'm so glad I got all y'all. I was for sure that David and Binder weren't showing up. I had my money on it. I was just ready for Binder to be like, what? I'm supposed to be doing something today? I just knew it was going to happen. Y'all popped up and I was like, oh, yay. How's Trump's America treating everybody?
Oh, it's great.
I'm so happy. I'm not depressed. I'm mentally stable. I'm feeling good.
I've been happily in a Canadian bubble, focusing very much on the Canadian election, so it's sort of in my safe space.
How are you feeling, David? How are you feeling ahead of Monday? I mean, that's big election.
It seems we're avoiding the worst case scenario, so I'm feeling pretty good right now. But I also remember how I felt before the U.S. election. I'm like, oh, Kamala's looking pretty good, and so I don't want,
no one look up my electoral map. It's not hard to find. Every right winger seems to have it on lock and responding to all of my tweets with it. So
honestly, though, when Olay asks how's Trump's America treating us, for David and Lance, Trump actually helped them out.
Basically flipped the election.
Yeah,
exactly.
The election. Yeah.
It must be nice.
The conservatives were going to win over there in Canada. Now it looks
we
like
shouldn't talk too soon.
At least he's helping somebody. Yeah, true.
You know, and we did jinx the U.S. election. We did record an Olay and Chill being too fucking optimistic before the last election, too. Like, that's the only well-performing video. I was like, fucking private this, behind the paywall, fuck this. People can't talk shit the day after, like, fuck this.
I appreciate that conversation, though, because you all did soothe my anxiety, because I was feeling very anxious, and you all made me feel better. So the temporary relief was actually
a false sense
nice. You lulled me into a false sense of security. It's okay.
It's like a drug. We gave you a drug to numb the pain until the inevitable reality.
Yeah,
What's
I'll take
unfortunate
it. I'll take it. Anything.
What's unfortunate is having that numbness wear off in the middle of the night when you realize he's about to take Pennsylvania. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Or you're on stage like I was, like trying to hold it together.
Oh, no.
I'm so glad I didn't do that to myself. When that election started to go south, I was like, thank God I said yes. I said no to going anywhere. Because let me tell y'all, the crash out y'all would have seen. I was like, I hate everybody.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was on that Majority Report show with Emma that night, and I was talking it up backstage beforehand, super sure about how the night was gonna go. I was wrong, but I almost tongue in cheek to really rub it in. I almost showed up on stage. I was like, I'm gonna wear a MAGA hat to like really rub it in. Good thing I didn't, because it would have really made me look stupid.
Is Binder a little low for you guys? Sorry, Binder.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, I'm low? All right, I'll put myself louder.
Yeah. I also to that show, I brought my best friend. Like, she was, and we were all like I thought it was gonna be a real feminist moment. I guess I don't know. I'm now steering the conversation, so tell me to stop. Whenever,
no, do your thing, sis.
I was a lot less shocked about Hillary Clinton losing. I guess just because Trump's campaign was run better the first time around, and there was more of the outsider thing that he had going for him, and he was bringing in Bernie was right about all the corruption. I'm the guy that bought the politicians, and I thought that message was more salient. But he's talking about Arnold Palmer's dick and talking about how Kamala should get beat up. And I underestimated, obviously, the level of racism and misogyny in the country, which I didn't think it was possible, but here we are. And I was more shocked about this because his campaign was so poorly run, and because we'd done the Trump experience before. But I mean, it was rough.
America wanted to hear about Arnold Palmer's dick. I mean, that's the message here.
I was more shocked definitely during Hillary. I was painfully shocked when Hillary lost that election. Too. I'm telling y'all, I truly believe that Hillary was evil and powerful like B613 on Scandal, like everybody was saying, and I just knew. I promise y'all, it sounds so ridiculous now, or it doesn't actually, since the government is a Mickey Mouse operation now. So maybe I was just ahead of the curve. But I remember she okay, she's lost, she's losing, in the night. She realistically, my brain was like, she's lost. I see this, but I said, surely not. There's no world in which Donald Trump becomes president. So I'm going to go to sleep, and the Clintons will have cleared this up, gotten rid of who they need to get rid of, disappeared who needs to be disappeared. And I woke up and the bitch was lost. I was like, Oh my God. I remember being inside of my Beetle. I drove a silver Volkswagen Beetle in law school at the time. And I was sitting in the car like weeping, bawling, like on Snapchat, like Jesus Christ. Like, I can't believe this. So this election, I wasn't surprised so much as I was mad. And I was mad at me because I fucking knew it. I said it. I hate when I'm convinced to believe that there's something deeper and intellectual and more nuanced and all this stuff that I'm like missing when I don't see people's optimism. Because I said day one, I could have put myself in a coma for the entire election season and just left it at what I thought when they said Kamala was running. And I said, that ain't gonna fucking happen. Not only is she a Black woman attached to an administration that people hate, but the bitch ran already and they hated her. Like, she was the first person to drop out last time. That's what I said. There's no fucking way. I know America. If they weren't voting for the white lady, they're not voting for her. And I hate that I let people convince me that was too ABC and Mickey Mouse of an analysis. No, you don't know. America's not as what you think it is. It's way more positive. Look at her campaign. Look at her momentum. Making a vote for her. So I was like, okay. I understand. I was too negative. Everybody's learned their lesson from the last Trump administration. Surely, right? We're not going to vote him in.
I honestly am the opposite. I thought this time was the sure thing, no way, because of all the things that had happened. People had already experienced what an administration under Trump was. They already saw how he handled COVID, and you also had his own followers who hated what he had done under COVID. And then, of course, you have January 6th, where the entire country during that time period came out against him. I thought, and then following that, all the different trials and legal issues he was dealing with. I really thought people were going to be like, you know what, been there, done that. We just don't want to.
Matt, this one is so much worse.
No, this one is. But that adds to it too.
I'm actually just reinforcing your point. It's so much worse than you thought it could have been.
You already know what he was, and then you heard what he was saying he was going to do this time around, and it was going to be so much worse. Like I had been saying, the best case scenario looking back would have actually been for him to have actually just won in 2020, for him to just have beat Joe Biden, extended that same administration that he had with at least some of the people who were holding back his worst impulses. And, he wouldn't have had the whole, hell bent for revenge scenario we're seeing lay out, because
he wouldn't have had the opportunity to recalibrate.
Right. Yeah. And he wouldn't have gone through all this legal stuff where he felt like he needed to now punish his enemies and anyone who didn't support him. Now we are in the worst case scenario.
And Elon.
Anyway. Right.
Elon Musk is this administration is so ridiculous and diabolical that it's hard to really pick out and keep track of all the things that is just absurd about it. But I will say Elon Musk is always top 3. No matter what is happening and what's coming out and shocking breaking news from Trump and them, Elon Musk's shadow presidency and his badass children running around the White House and him impregnating every bitch on Twitter, all of that, top 3 every time. No matter what happens, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking crazy.
Elon is, but the good thing is that there is backlash. Like Elon Musk really felt like he was untouchable. That's why he's doing this stuff. Like he really felt like he had everything going for him, and he could now, partake in his, take the mask off, show who he really is to the world. He doesn't have to pretend to care about the environment and climate change, and he could tell Tesla, hey, you could stop sending out the pro LGBTQ plus tweets during Pride Month. We don't give a shit about that, because I never really gave a shit about that. We could just go full on mask off because I'm now untouchable. Tesla's so huge. I'm the richest man on the planet. SpaceX is officially taking over the U.S. space program. Everyone loves me, and if they hate me, they can't escape me. But we now know that there is backlash that can hurt. The Tesla quarterly earnings for this past quarter, Q1 of 2025, showed that their Tesla sales are down over 70%. And I think one thing a lot of people are missing here is that even though the company still posted a profit, the reason they are profitable, and a lot of people are missing this, at least for this quarter, is because of the carbon credits that they receive from the government programs. If you take away the 500
welfare?
Yeah, that's government handouts. If you take away the carbon credits that Tesla receives from the government, from various governments, the EU, the US, various states, if you take away those carbon credits, which they sell to other companies at a 100% profit, take those away, and Tesla actually would be net negative this quarter. They would have been something like negative $186 million. Wow. And I think
Q2
a lot
is going
of
to be
people
worse. Q2 is going to be worse because, and to just bolster your point, Binder, and to explain it to people, these carbon credits are basically dependent on how much Teslas are basically reducing emissions. And in Europe in particular, this is a major problem because if he's selling more Teslas, that means that the carbon credits are going to be more lucrative and they can sell those to other companies that are going over their carbon limits. So it also underscores how inauthentic the whole initial Tesla branding of being a green company was because they're just selling what the lack of emissions to companies that are polluting so they can continue to pollute and go over that threshold. But if sales crater in that way, there's twofold. One, it undercuts their ability to get these carbon credits from governments. And secondly, it seems like Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter was using his Tesla stock as a major piece of collateral so that he could make such a giant purchase and take it private. If that stock continues to dip, that means that potentially if the banks come calling, he's not going to have the funds to back up his acquisition of Twitter. And that's part of why he's so threatened by the protests against Tesla, is because it undercuts his other project, which is to destroy the journalistic communications platform. And he's already done it, I guess. Twitter.
Right.
Yeah,
I do think that second part though with Twitter now X, the everything app, I do think that's a little bit more murky now what his responsibility there is, because they just actually sort of did some legal wrangling to sell X to his AI company, XAI, which actually, because we're currently in the AI bubble, and basically if you have an AI company, you're getting massive funding, that has a lot of funding, and they basically took over X. So there might actually be money now there to protect him from that. I'm not 100% clear. I just wanted to add that addendum. But also to your point about the carbon credits, they actually were a lot lower this quarter. The quarter before that, the last quarter in 2024, the Tesla made over $800 million in carbon credits. This time it was almost cut in half. They're in trouble.
It's actually ridiculous just how many avenues are set up to make sure he survives and wiggles his way, not just out of trouble, but wiggles his way into the most powerful rooms. Because I always knew, and I said it, I wrote an op-ed in The Nation when what's his name? I'm confusing all my enemies. Elon Musk. I was about to call him Eric Adams. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, I knew that it was for the purpose of of suppressing and quashing progressive movements. That always seemed very clear to me, that his main agenda, that it was a very obvious political agenda. And he's done it. He's been in plain sight since the moment he took over the app. So I always knew that. That didn't surprise me. And it also didn't surprise me the way he used the app to, influence Donald Trump and right wing like this, win this election. What I somehow missed, I was like, did I miss this? I thought I was on top of this. I thought I saw Project 2012. I wasn't shocked by shit else other than Elon Musk becoming the puppet president. That much I didn't think I knew. I was like, did we know that? Did they tell us that Elon Musk was going to be running shit had Donald Trump win? What chapter of Project 2012?
And speaking of that, you know what else I didn't see when he bought Twitter was I didn't know that he was going to be using it as a primary communications device to try and give women his semen. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was actually dropping into women's DMs and offering them sperm. And apparently there was a YouTuber who was offered this lucrative deal, and she said no. And then he unfollowed her, and her ad revenue went from something like $20,000 a fortnight to nothing.
And she's a rainy bitch, so I love it for her.
Tiffany Fong,
yeah.
I don't know.
Correlated, but
there was speculation even then, jokingly last year, when she posted, because she posted that she made in 2 weeks something like over $20,000 from Twitter, and even then, like, even though some of these guys were joking about it, like the blue checks that are just in there, like out there to try to make money through like stealing viral shit and just posting it themselves, those people were all like in her replies. I remember seeing being like, "Oh, is Elon hitting on you? Is this his way of getting with you?" And fast forward to like a year later, almost, and it turns out the guys who were joking about it were actually onto something. It's what was happening.
I mean, honestly, who says romance is dead? Just the can I send you my semen over Twitter DM? I mean, that's how I met my fiance.
So, I mean, listen, if you're one of the fellas right now who doesn't have the confidence to ask a girl out, shoot your shot. No pun intended, but you know.
Into a cup. Yes. Because I'm still saying we don't have any real evidence that Elon Musk has ever had sex.
I was going to say, the most embarrassing. Elon Musk is hands down the most embarrassing super incel. He's a super incel, right? Because he's like, he's powerful, he got money, so I give him that. Like, he's a souped up incel. But he is the most embarrassing of all of them, because I've seen a bunch of these. There's actually this nasty ass passport bro he was on 90 Day Fiance, and they should be sued for having him there. Sick ass, nasty ass man that was going around. And I mean, he looked like a worm, like everything what he was on the inside, he was on the outside. I mean, just genetically inferior in every kind of way. The man was going all around the world. And like to like women preying on women who like needed to have a baby but couldn't afford, you know, the clinics and all this and the next thing, like a souped up passport bro, impregnating bitches all over the world, like collecting how much children, this and the next thing. Like he had this like superior seed. And here's what I find creepy and interesting. Even that sicko, that nasty ass sicko managed to convince people to sleep with him. But Elon Musk can't even do that. Like Elon Musk with all it's like, immediately he jumps right to scientific situation. Like let's get some IVF going. Let's go do this. I'm like, you know, they don't want to fuck with you.
Have you heard the conspiracy theory that he had some sort of penis enlargement surgery that was botched?
I've heard that. Yes.
And that he can't have sex anymore. I think Azalea Banks, who is a troll. But
not a reliable narrator.
Not a reliable narrator, but could be.
Like
we still don't know.
I'm choosing to believe this one.
She was in his circle, though. She was in his circle. She was in his circle though during his Grimes time period where he was with Grimes.
And she
so it's not like told her I mean, the guy's had more hair plug surgeries than, you know, I've had sandwiches. He's like his face is
I will say that's
completely glass, right? Go on.
I will say that's the one thing he's done well. Whoever did his hair, it did an amazing. It might be the best hair job I've ever seen. It really is good, because if you look at the pictures of this guy balding, oh my God, there's no way he looks like he does today. At least the hair. The hair is incredible.
Oh.
His doctor for his hair transplant should be given the presidential medal, honestly.
You are correct. I'm looking at that right now. You know what's funny? I've seen this picture of Elon Musk looking fucked up with his hair bald like this. Like the picture that I'm looking at, I'm like, I've seen this before, but I just knew someone photoshopped that to hurt his feelings. I'm blown away to see this real.
If you're seeing the one with the bear, like the baby bird hair filling the front of his head, that is absolutely 100% real. It is an amazing job. Kudos to that doctor. I'm glad you exist and that you're out there in case one day, God forbid, I need you.
They really ate that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's crazy. Young him doesn't look like. Yeah, you could see it's interesting. I'm looking at him now, and young him looks like old him. So it's not like I can say like age bad or per se, because you can see that it's him. But like young him doesn't strike me as ugly, but old him, current him strikes me as a monster. Like I'm like, you're a very upsetting looking man.
Strike me as ugly.
Right. But like young, maybe I don't see, maybe he don't look as evil white supremacist billionaire scary in the young picture. Like that looks like a person who needs a hug.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Scarier.
And to be clear, that's like 25, 30 years in between those two photos. Like that's like he was balding. Like that long ago, that hair must have been gone just a few years later after this picture, that first picture, you know?
Hey, and no shame in the bowling game, you know? I mean, I love when men can own it, but this is the kind of guy that is trying to, you know, say that who has cut off his transgender daughter for, God forbid, living her life in a way that makes her happy. He doesn't have a problem with gender affirming care for himself with his hairline, but not for trans people.
Gender affirming care for
he has a problem with his women, right?
me.
Like, did I see this? I figure Alon's am I gonna have all the intel? If I is her name Vivian? It was his daughter. Okay, look at me.
His daughter.
I saw her talking about that he intentionally wants boys, that he's constantly the real problem here. Why
he's doing that. It gets so much weirder than that. So apparently Ashley St. Clair, who was like the conservative, one of the women who he has impregnated through this process, she revealed that he's actually trying to build something called the Legion, which is his actual master race project, which is what he's calling his Legion of Sons. Weird. Yeah, and these are the terms that he used. And he was trying to get her to recruit her to get more women to be impregnated by him to create the Legion. Like, it's actually as weird and twisted as that.
We're in a scary movie.
He purchased a compound in Texas, like Waco status, and he wanted all of the women he had children with to all live there and raise the children together.
To breed them.
Some of them do. Some of them do. Don't they live there? I mean,
not the ones we know about, I don't think. But there are ones apparently that we don't know about.
Yes, that's what the Journal reported. The Wall Street Journal had that really scary but fascinating report. But just to zoom out on this ideology for a sec, this pronatalism, and I saw that Netflix documentary too, where that guy's a right-winger and he fetishizes his blonde hair and blue eyes.
Oh, I was talking about a much nastier guy. That guy is at least hideous. If I show you the guy, you keep talking that much, I'm gonna find you who I mean.
Look, show the photo, but there's also the Netflix guy, the man with 1,000 kids. People can watch this. This is this online natalist movement that is fundamentally a eugenicist, white supremacist movement. And I just want to explain it for a second. You'll hear Elon Musk talk about how there's population decline in the world. That's not true. The population is increasing, but in wealthier countries, or in the United States in particular, yes, we're not having babies in a way that would grow the population. It's because, in part, we don't have a social safety net or universal child care or things that could help mothers when they want to have children, or people when they want to have children. And so what he's talking about is that the birth rates in like Africa or in South America or in other parts of the global South, those are increasing, and that is what he sees as a threat. And so it has like these white supremacist trappings, and you can also see when Elon Musk cut off USAID, and we know that there are going to be thousands and thousands of people who die of HIV and babies that die of AIDS and disease in Africa because we've cut off this healthcare. You can see that like he sees that as a plus because of his worldview, right? They're bringing back eugenics also when it comes to RFK Jr.'s.
And autism.
The way he talks about people with autism. They are a survival of the fittest in their view administration that is very hostile and disgusted by people who have disabilities and kind of wants them to be on their own, and nature can take care of it. That's really how RFK Jr. views it. And then saying, as it relates to the global South as well, that's their position. So it's actually quite dangerous, even though it's also disgusting and fun to make fun of.
Yeah. Right. I'm old enough to remember that one of the biggest Republican talking points was and they still believe this, they're just not open about it anymore, was the racist trope that black and brown people just pop out kids to get as much welfare as possible. And now their position is people aren't having enough children, but we really know what people they're talking about.
Right.
White children,
it's
yes.
White babies.
Because the complaint still is that we spend too much on welfare programs. We spend too much on Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and food stamps.
Which black people are not the highest beneficiaries of, by the way.
They're not.
Right.
The welfare cleaners and white ladies, they're not talking about.
But they'll
it's
say
companies, it's billionaires.
They'll say all that, and then have their racist talking points, and at the same time complain that white people aren't having enough babies. It's like, they want people to just it's just a racist ideology. It really is that simple. I mean, it is very much white supremacy.
Yeah, it's outright white supremacy.
Right.
Look at this. This is absolutely. I think it's just insane. Honestly, since the emergence of Donald Trump, on the political scene in America, but especially today, it just feels like being in the upside down. Like normally you used to live in a world where the task is trying to convince people that these things are happening when everything is very covert and you just read between the lines and trying to point to this and statistics. It makes you feel like you don't know what to do when everything is happening in plain sight, like outright, like there's nothing to point out. They're doing it, they're saying it, it's happening, and there's a considerable amount of people that support it. And it's like, and also, and yes, there are a considerable amount of people that don't support it, but how much can you do when you have, it's a regime. Like, that's my thing. I don't even see it as, I call it the Trump administration to be nice, but I see it as the Trump regime. That's why I feel like we're living in. And I've already seen, did y'all see him put out hats on his website for Trump 2028?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then I go back and forth with people who say we shouldn't take this seriously. We're going to have free and fair elections. I do not think that that's necessarily the case.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I mean, I think. Go ahead.
I do think the merch is specifically. From his standpoint, a brilliant marketing ploy where what do conservatives love to do? Make
Trigger
liberals
the
mad,
libs.
piss
Trigger
off
the
the
libs.
liberals.
I
So
get
this is
it.
like
When
this
Donald
is
Trump
the
tells us
perfect-
he's running for Trump 2028 because you ain't learned nothing been there. When that man
No,
announces
I'm
it's
not saying no. I was gonna
2028
say
running,
all the horrible
I
things
don't-
I'm buying
he's
for
doing,
that.
he is
No.
doing. Like
I
Project
don't-
2025 is
I don't-
41% complete. Like the
I
guy is
don't-
actually manifesting the shit he talks about.
I don't disagree with you guys. I completely think he's serious about this, but I also think the merch is the play to just sell to conservatives because he loves to grift his own followers. To sell to conservatives, it's literally liberal tears in a Christmas box. Like it's a package for conservatives to piss off the libs, and he's going to make so much money off of that. So I think we shouldn't make too much deal about the merch itself. But yes, he actually does want to do that, so we should focus on that specific thing.
That's what I mean.
not so much the
I just see
hats.
the merch and all of the things as illustrative of what he is doing and what he is planning. Like, yes, he's always going to make a bag. He's always going to play off of his followers. He doesn't respect them. They're a cult that worships him, that he thinks like it will never not be funny that the people who go the hardest for Donald Trump are poor white people that he would be disgusted by and don't give a flying fuck about and are actively arming. So we know that any opportunity to take what little money they have and kick their fucking back in, he's going to do that. But also, that motherfucker want to be president forever.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Like at this point, I'm so the kind of shit that is just happening regularly. Like, Katy Perry in space. This is Donald Trump said this. Elon Musk said this. I will not be shocked when Elon Musk come out with like, we've come up with a super suit that'll keep Donald Trump alive for 72 more years.
No, we're going to have AI Donald Trump, who's president. Not even joking. This is so people may not follow sports the way I do, but there's a total megalomaniac owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, who also a huge Trump supporter and donor, by the way, not a coincidence. He's really old at this point, and he has created an AI Jerry Jones as like a fan attraction for Cowboys fans who he goes, it's like his image talking about the team and decision making, and like this is these guys think of themselves as gods, and they see as like AI as the new kind of way for them to keep themselves alive even past death. I'm not even joking about how insane they are.
Did no one watch Smart House?
Security.
Did y'all watch Smart House? Do you remember Disney Channel original? None of you watched Smart House?
I wasn't allowed to watch Disney or Nickelodeon growing up because
you were an oppressed,
which
unfortunate
my parents
people.
are a little strict, but yeah.
I'm none of you, so no one here watched. I got an Lance. I forgot I aged out.
I watched a lot of Nickelodeon
white people
growing
I'm
up. I don't remember
surrounded
that
by.
show. No, I watched a lot of Nickelodeon growing up. I remember Pete and Pete, Ren and Stimpy.
But y'all
Oh,
do
Ren
watch
and
Disney
Stimpy.
Channel
Oh, yeah.
original movies. Y'all never see a Smart House.
I never had the Disney Channel.
That's
Disney
so
Channel was
crazy.
a
I
little
guess
bit after
porn
my
that shaped
time.
a generation. My whole
What kind of bougie
aversion.
shit is the Disney Channel?
Disney
I've never
Channel was a
heard of this.
premium channel.
And I'm like, I was in the Bahamas. We got. I don't know how y'all have no excuse for this. Okay?
I don't think we had it in Canada. We had we had the Family Channel, which sometimes had Disney stuff, but we never had the actual
Nickelodeon.
Disney
We just
Channel.
had Degrassi playing 24/7 on all the channels.
I love you work last. I love. I go up to Degrassi. Degrassi is my shit.
Degrassi's good, yeah.
Degrassi is good TV that I still watch present day. I'm up to date. Okay, I love Degrassi.
I think Olay gave a little bit too much credit to Elon Musk there, because in reality, reality, what would happen is Elon Musk would promise the suit that extends Trump's life by
blow
72 years.
It would blow up in a minute.
And you'd be like, Trump, try this on. Put it on and
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hope the conservatives all get Neuralink. I want them on the front lines. I want every Republican line up and get that chip in your brain and lose your shit. And sorry,
and I want them to drink lots of raw milk. Drink lots of raw milk too, conservatives.
If you,
it has vitamins.
If
you ever watch
where it's like with measles, if you're not vaccinated, all of it.
That's how you get the immunity.
I love that meme where it's like 5 years ago, conservatives were like, Bill Gates wants to put a chip in your head. And then it's like now conservatives, Elon Musk wants to put a chip in my head.
in Smart House, because Disney anticipated all of this a million years ago. In Smart House, the AI and the technology, basically the house, it was a woman, a woman that's the voice of the house, and she just keeps getting smarter. The house keeps getting Smart House. It keeps getting too smart. And then the next thing you know, the house wants to be like a real mother to the children. It's sentient. It's taking shit over. Scary movie. That's pretty. I want y'all to know that movie has done more than my politics and any explanation for why AI is bad has ever done for making sure I don't use it. I don't use nobody's AI, no ChatGPT, no none of that, because Smart House. I said a lot to say. I would never in this life, it's not even just how crazy it is to have what are already white supremacist supervillains creating the AI versions of themselves. But I think a regular person would be terrible as an AI superversion. Like me unchecked, if I were like not real, like not the consequences to the world, like just a version of me that was just, oh, y'all don't know how bad that AI version of me would be. Karen just criming around the place. Just anybody, the slightest disagreement, you're out of here. Like, I'm just a regular. I was like, y'all gonna let supervillains, powerful white supremacists create little... This is terrifying. This is actually something to be scared of.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
it's just hard to imagine where that
everyone's just like,
where that could go. Like the issue I've had with
a comedy now.
The issue I've had with Trump so far is just there's so much it's more than the first term. Like today I saw a headline that they're removing salmonella protections for like chicken, like
didn't they arrest
shit that you just like
too.
Like,
yes, today I saw that. Yeah,
that would have been a massive story any other time.
Undocumented immigrants.
But there's so much of this all the time.
Yeah. And other judges,
you can't keep
by
up
making
with
an
it.
example out of her to like basically say like, hey, you want to challenge us in the courts? That's been the only thing that's curbed the administration. You want to challenge us in the courts? Well, we might arrest you if you do that. It's insane.
Yeah. Reggie? Is truly, I see people keep being like, fascism is upon us. I'm like, no, not upon us. We're knee deep. We're knee deep, if not more already. Like this, that is what is happening right now. It's no longer a discussion about what Trump is going to do. It's what he's already doing. And he's intentionally overwhelming us. It's not a coincidence. He's doing more this time because it's meant to make it where you feel like there's so much to do. There's so much to address. So much is going wrong. You feel like everyone is too anxious and it's too much. You feel overwhelmed to address any of it. And that is intentionally the point. I think do y'all know Leisha Miller on YouTube? Leisha Miller has a really good video. She's fucking great, ain't she? She has a really good video about that, about like the fatigue of it all, him trying to overwhelm us with bad shit. And he is.
Steve Bannon said it. He said that you flood the zone. That's their tactic, because then it doesn't give the ability for people to sink their teeth into anything. The one thing I've seen has been the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, but that's really been the only thing that I feel like the resistance, for lack of a better word, has been able to kind of latch onto.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn. Lance and Mike, we were supposed to, the last time y'all were here, we discussed Ethan Klein versus Hasan before, when it was just the content nuke. The content nuke had come out. Now, since we have a content cop from idubbbz, and then we have a response from Ethan Klein. But I know that David and Binder probably barely know any of this, and for the audience, so one of you should give a background on this drama.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if most people would understand that sentence.
Right, I was like, Lance, you're going to explain all of that.
I need a little
Mike,
refresher. I know that there's that Ethan has basically kind of just been crashing out and going obsessively talking about Hasan. I know that he tagged me in some things and thinks I'm an anti-Semite. I mean, what else is new?
I did see your face on. You know what?
Yeah.
I did see, and I was like, "What happened do? How am I getting it? It was so random.
I mean, it's just the idea, because I'm anti-Zionist, because I criticize the genocide in Palestine, and because we are friends with Hasan. I mean, I think that he seems to be addicted to attention, addicted to responding to things, addicted to being outraged, and addicted to some other things. I wouldn't be shocked.
It's a victim complex.
He doesn't seem well.
He doesn't seem well.
Right.
But he does, I think he and Sam are going to have a conversation. He had said previously that he thought that was... So he had said to Hasan, this is what I know, that Hasan could never understand because he's not a Jewish person. And Hasan had said, okay, then perhaps you could have a conversation with an anti-Zionist Jewish person, and has floated Sam. In response to that, Ethan has said that that's tokenism. So it begs the question, if you can't talk to an anti-Zionist Jew, and that's tokenism, but you can't talk to an anti-Zionist Gentile or a non-Jew about that ideology, then who can you talk to other than Zionists, which I should say includes Christian Zionists. Biden called himself a Zionist. Zionism is an ideology that crosses religion. Now, there are Jewish Zionists, right? But in terms of numbers in this country, the entire Republican Party is filled with Christian Zionists. I mean, the majority of the Republican Party, the elected Republicans, are Christians, and they are Zionists. So from a numbers perspective, Zionists, there are more Christian Zionists in this country than there are Jewish Zionists.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The constant conflation of those things, I think, is, obviously misinformation, but it seems to be something that he's struggling with, so he's lashing out at everybody else, and I don't know. That's my understanding of what's happened.
My read on it, because I followed Ethan Klein for years, I was a really big fan. I even have Teddy Fresh merch. I bought their shit.
I don't get it. For someone who's, what is the appeal? I don't get how they got famous. I don't get the deal with their show. I don't get.
That's their merch company. They were early adopters of YouTube who were doing edgelord, aka racist sketches, and that stuff was viral gold back then. It was the same generation as idubbbz and Filthy Frank, who became Joji, and all these other people now, for better or for worse, who don't have the same careers that they used to, and now they're struggling with trying to do modern politics. When that used to they used to just be entertainers. They're not people who study or analyze news and politics. They're just people who were doing racism on the internet back in the day and got famous doing that.
So his thing was that he was kind of the one person on the internet that was shitting on other shitty internet personalities. Remember Ty Lopez, that ad that everybody hated, the Here in My Garage? He would shit on him, and it was really funny. He'd talk about these people that were ridiculous, these pranksters on the internet who would try to hit on girls, and just it was very relatable. And then he went through these different phases where he was a little bit reactionary after starting his podcast. I remember him debating with his producers on whether or not billionaires should exist. So I've gone in and out, but largely I really ended up liking Ethan Klein, especially during the pandemic, during his podcast with Trisha and Hasan, because he's just a human. He tries to better himself. He admits where he was wrong. He platformed Jordan Peterson. He tried to right that wrong. To me, what I get from the Hasan thing is just straight up grievance politics. Even though certainly it's about Israel.
That's in the water these days.
Right. That's exactly it. I mean, certainly he's sensitive about this because his wife is Israeli. He lived in Israel. So there's that element, of course, but it's also grievance politics, where he kind of feels wronged by Hasan because over the course of the last couple of years, he's really built up a progressive audience. He was debating transphobes, and he's shitting on the right regularly with Hasan. So then when all of a sudden you have this audience and they turn on you like that, and they're not taking your side, that's hard to reckon with. So rather than realizing that this audience that he had built up didn't like the Zionist talking points that he was using, didn't like, referring to Jewish Voice for Peace as capos. Rather than just reckoning with what he said, he blamed Hasan for it. He's the one who turned the audience against me. And I think that grudge has just kind of festered and whatnot. And even during, I think the first podcast episode of Leftovers, his podcast with Hasan after October 7th, they had a good conversation. Ethan cried talking about the, footage from Gaza and whatnot. And even though he wasn't great, he was open to listening and whatnot. And just with time, you can tell that the pettiness, this grudge against Hasan really built up. This is how I see it, as somebody who's a former fan. And now it's just he's on a warpath, and Hasan is basically like this guy who's controlling all the puppet strings of everybody else who's attacking him.
What was the, sorry, can I ask, what was the breaking point with him and Hasan? Because I watched their podcast and I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed seeing that interaction. That was a pretty good
it
podcast
was
when it
post
lasted.
October 7th.
Yeah.
They started having to discuss, obviously, like the rest of everybody was talking about, what was taking place. They started having to have discussions about it, and they would find a lot of friction points. And so they took a break for a little while. And then after they took a break, they eventually had a couple of like public fights just being on their live streams individually. They weren't doing the show together. And then those public fights evolved into basically like the show's not going to be around anymore.
In particular, his issue with Hasan during those debates was that Hasan wasn't controlling his audience, because Ethan Klein would say something that's really insensitive and quite frankly racist, and he was mad that Hasan as a friend wasn't defending him and letting the audience kind of run roughshod, right? So that's the crux of his anger with Hasan. That's the beginning of it.
But that is just like, I'm sorry, we are in the political debate space, and the audience is going to react how they're going to react. Like
on an issue like this.
Yeah, and if you're going to wade into politics, do so, but be ready to deal with the consequences of this. Because what I'm seeing from him, based on, again, I'm not super deep into this, but I do know enough to get, and that's what I did just lay out for you. But it's also reflected in my experience with liberal Zionists, Jewish and non-Jewish, in my personal life, where there has been a bit of a fork in the road, where there are some people that have self-reflected on perhaps their reflexive view of Israel as this a moral democracy in the Middle East, and being moral by default, frankly, because often democracy and morality are used to speak about like Western civilization and Western values to besmirch folks in the global South or in the Middle East as barbarians and not cosmopolitan like the rest of us. That there have been some people that have reflected on that, because it's very easy, I think, for some liberals to be anti-racist within a domestic context, because that's very much within acceptable thought, and it's about who you align yourself with. It's about supporting the Democratic Party, and so you don't necessarily have to do any anti-racist work, because you think by default, because of your political affiliation, that should absolve you of things. But some people have done the work at liberal Zionists, and they've changed their perspective. Others that I've seen have gone the opposite direction.
That's Ethan.
Where because it's become so emotional for them, because it flies in the face of their own self-conception that I am anti-racist by default. One, if they're a Jewish Zionist, because they've experienced the horrors of the Holocaust, and because all this suffering has to have built up an anti-racist, anti-genocide cachet in me, and instead of self-reflecting, or cash, or I forget how you say it, instead of self-reflecting, I'm going to say that everybody else is wrong. And it seems like he's in that other bucket, which is just not interesting in any real way, because they're going to be dinosaurs at a certain point. Right now, a majority public opinion in this country is negative about Israel. There was polling done, I think it was by Gallup or Pew, but I think it's Pew off the top of my head. The 53%, over 50% of people in this country now have a negative view of Israel. 50% of Republicans age 18 to 49 have a negative view of Israel. Not anybody older than that in the Republican Party, but that has shifted by double-digit points over the course of this genocide. For Democrats, the majority opinion is now negative view of Israel. And for Democrats under, thank you very much for pulling it up. I think it's like, we've cited this so often, I think it is like the third or fourth graph here. So if you want to scroll down, here you go. So, yeah. So among U.S. adults, 53% now have a negative view of Israel. Look at that shift from 2022. Lean Democrats, 71%, 18 to 49, negative view of Israel. 69% of Democrats, lean Democrats overall. And that shift with Republicans is massive as well. So, like, this is the tide that this dude is fighting against. And eventually, when you fight against the tide, you tire yourself out treading water. And that's what it seems like the stage that he's at right now. So,
Yeah, I think like a lot of this just goes into, the world has been watching like a Holocaust play out on their phones, right? So it's not a surprise that a large percentage of the population is suddenly rejecting the idea that this is okay. I think in this story, with something that is important that I think we might miss out on is that Ethan actually was a groundbreaker on YouTube for fair use,
Right.
in that he was sued for somebody for his speech, right? Because he was criticizing another YouTuber. He ended up winning a really important court case that really set a standard for people saying that you can criticize people, and use their clips even when you're criticizing them, which is the basis for everyone on this panel, I think's, work. We'll watch Tim Pool videos or stuff like that. He is now actively suing Noah Samson, who's a big YouTuber, simply for making a video saying that this, a lot of the work that he's been doing is apologia for genocide. And so he's saying, well, that's defamation. You've defamed me. I've never once endorsed Israel's genocide. I've never said that out loud. I've never said that sentence. So now he's trying to do the exact opposite thing in the opposite direction, right? Which is to silence critics simply because he disagrees with what they're criticizing him for.
And I remember him being the hero on the internet for that fair use case. It was huge. Everybody was against Matt Haas, who was the guy who was suing him for copyright infringement, I believe. I'm not sure, but that's how basically it established, yes, that fair use is acceptable on YouTube. And now not only is he going in the opposite direction, like he's been sued for defamation as well. He's been in this years-long lawsuit against Ryan Kavanaugh of Triller, because he originally used like a 10-second clip, I think, of a Jake Paul fight for his podcast, and then he started talking shit about him, so it kind of morphed into a defamation suit. So he is basically, he used to be this person who was like the guy everybody really respected. He created this fund, the FUPA fund, for anybody else, fair use public fund, or I don't remember, or public account. And so that way, if other smaller creators were getting sued, they can help. He could help them. And now he's filing DMCA claims against people who just post clips on Reddit. He's threatening defamation lawsuits left and right. He's become
he's closing subreddits down that are critical of him as well.
He's become everything that he used to stand against, and he
Has the
can't
hypocrisy been brought up
understand.
to him?
What was that?
Has the hypocrisy been brought up to him? Does he not register what's happening?
Nope, because right now he's in a bubble. His staff is too afraid to confront him very clearly because they're all very left-leaning. Like two of his staffers are Lebanese. And so they don't agree. His staff, I mean, his producer Dan is a socialist.
It's like a very difficult work environment.
You can tell. Like there was a clip which was shocking because I stopped watching after the Leftovers podcast, and then I came back, and the first episode back. Actually, I didn't see the episode, but I saw the clip because it was in a members only, where he was making fun of Aaron Bushnell. And that to me, I'm like, okay, I can't do it because he's not reading the room. He's making fun of somebody who's self-immolated for very serious reasons, and rather than like speaking to that with the gravity or not speaking about it at all, he made fun of him and then shit on people for getting mad. But like, I forgot where I was going before Aaron Bushnell because
well, what I was gonna say is, it's stupid of him to sue for defamation. It's stupid of him to sue for defamation. Just period. Defamation is a damn near impossible thing to win, especially as a public figure who is like intentionally thrusting themselves into the public discourse. I think that probably has that connects to the larger problem that I think makes me less sympathetic to Ethan. I'm always trying to. I'm in the season of my life where I try to be sensitive and give and look at things in the light most favorable to the like aggrieved party, the person who's very upset and spiraling because of the internet. Because I understand like the internet and communities and everything can like overwhelm you, and years of that make you lose your fucking mind. So I try to be considerate as somebody who I know is sensitive to internet. I just don't want to be a hypocrite. Like everybody knows I can't stand how the internet carries on. So I don't want to be always caring about my feelings. And then when other people are mad about the internet, I'm like, fuck you. So I try, I'm telling you, I've tried to look at the evidence in the light most favorable to Ethan. I've tried, and especially considering like I'm cool with Hasan, and I'm also cool with idubbbz, which is I think what took me over the edge and realizing Ethan's wildin'. But I think the thing I understand having what makes it less sympathetic for Ethan is I understand having a bad take or a take that the internet doesn't support, and you can't divorce yourself from that take. You just can't bring yourself to change that position or argue otherwise because the internet. So usually I think what the correct response to do with that, especially if you don't like how some people are fine with outrage. They don't mind if everybody's fucking mad at them. They don't care if everybody hates them as long as it's getting the views and the attention or whatever. But for Ethan, he clearly does have a problem with people being mad at him. It does matter how they're perceiving him. It's not enough for the views and stuff because he's still getting that. So clearly to me, when if I don't like how the internet I know the internet is gonna jump me for something. I know it, or they've jumped me in already, so I know now. Maybe I didn't know it first, but I know now, and I don't want to be jumped. I usually stay away from that. I probably wouldn't spend like the next year and some change talking about every fucking chance I get.
He seeks it out. Every single tweet that somebody makes, he seeks it out, and it's crazy. Like I did one video on Ethan Klein. I have many videos defending Ethan Klein. We're talking about him debating a transphobe. I did one video criticizing him, comparing his crash out to the TYT crash out, and he never responded to that. But somebody else on the internet streamed my reaction, and they were shitting on it. And Ethan Klein never responded to me, but he sent that guy a bunch of Teddy Fresh bursts. It is the funniest shit ever, the most passive aggressive shit.
I like that.
That's hilarious as fuck.
I said, to say it like that kind of petty, I want to say, I understand. And watching idubbbz video, because whose name is Ian? Ian was talking about essentially that he's just wanted to stay the fuck out of it. This beef has been going on for more than a year. He and Ethan has forced him to have to respond by bringing him and his wife's name into it, because they're mad that they feel like they're not speaking out against him, and they're friends with people that don't fuck with them. Now I'll say this, even with like watching Ian's video and seeing where like Ethan is wrong, I think the thing is Ethan's content nuke and how Ethan presents things when Ethan is talking, he makes it seem as though he is off just saying like reason. If you watch Ethan's content nuke in a vacuum, which I did at first, I don't know what the fuck these people are going on, you know, all this larger drama, it would seem like Ethan is somebody who's like, okay, I understand that the genocide is bad, but also I believe in a two-state, you know what I mean? I want Israel to be, and then everybody's just jumping him and kicking his back in, which when you see the larger and you see other people's videos, you realize that is not the case. Ethan is constantly doing podcasts and videos and attacking people and calling people stupid and all this and the next thing. So it's not, he's not this like victim the way that he's making it seem. That being said, I do understand if you're friends with creators, your content creators, as I saw when Ethan did his response to Ian's content cop, he was pointing, like showing how these specific people, you know, were talking crazy shit about him, and Ethan and them are following him. People, I understand that on a human level of being like, I see this, a bunch of people are kicking my fucking back, and there are some people, certainly there's bulk people that are valid, and there's some people who are going beyond the pale and making personal attacks to my children and all this and the next thing, and you're not distancing yourself from them, so I don't fuck with you. I get that. I could understand on a passive aggressive, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't deal with you, but that's an entirely different thing. I don't deal with you. I notice this and I'm personally offended, or I feel some kind of way quietly, versus let me now make content about you and like have millions of people on the internet talking shit about you and making you a villain and doing this larger thing. So I try to look at it. I try to be I try to be sensitive.
But Olay, let me just say that like I've been in a similar situation, and TYT just came up, but with Anna Kasparian, where I had a personal friendship with her, but I didn't I disagreed a lot with how she was acting, right? And I wish I had, and I said this to you privately, but I wish that I had maybe come to this realization a little bit sooner, because obviously she has deep like some pretty anti-Black racist issues, specifically with Black women. I think that informed the way that she talked about Kamala Harris, based on what I've seen with this like incredible vitriol that makes no sense, given the fact that like, aren't they kind of tough on crime centrist now, which is basically her whole brand.
I know.
And I noticed that misogynoir or racism, right? And I didn't speak up about it because I wanted to give her an opportunity to come back into the fold, right? But that's also leaving people like you out on a limb, and that's part of the problem with this space. And Ethan's not fully a part of it, but like it's too white to represent the progressive movement, and I think that's where there's some disconnect, right, with the online left and with leftist organizing, which is not super white. But in part, like I was able to do this job because I was in a privileged position in my life, right, where I could engage in political thought, and I was thinking about politics like starting at age 10 or 11 and engaging in these ideas and kind of understanding that this is part of my passion or whatever. And there are a lot of people like that, but like, why am I getting elevated? In part because of my whiteness, etc. So I think that part of creating a more inclusive space is also backing up some of the lone non-white voices in our community.
I agree with that.
Because I do, like, I love Chapo Trap House and all those guys, like, a lot. But I do think, like, the sardonic quality sometimes puts off women and people of color who the satire has its place, but for particularly people of color, these are very real, tangible experiences. When there's a reason that Black people vote overwhelmingly for the Democrats, is because they may not think the Democrats are perfect, but they also know what happens when there are Republicans in power. Exactly. And I do think that our analysis would benefit from taking those concerns like incredibly seriously and not being snide about it, because it's a turnoff, and we should be melding the progressive media space with the organizing space, and that's 100%. Where we have this gulf, in my view. And it's a bit of a tangent.
100% right.
Can I add one little thing to what Emma said? Because specifically to this, you just mentioned the names of a lot of these things that for people not familiar with the internet, it might sound weird. Content nuke, content cop, all this kind of stuff. The thing here is that Ethan is doing what he would have done when he battled anyone else in the past, or anyone else battles in the realm of internet drama, while the backdrop of all of this is surrounding a genocide. So it's one thing to have done like content or these kind of takedowns of the creators, when what you're going to be talking about is like, oh, maybe I had a bad take, or I did something wrong.
Right.
Like, Ethan and Gila at one point were saying that Yoav Gallant was a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, this is the person who was calling Palestinians human animals and say that they were going to cut them off from all food and water.
Has an ICC warrant against him, by the way.
Yes, right.
He's a really good guy.
As much as everyone tries to parse this all as internet drama, this is also all surrounding just these horrifying atrocities. So it's so hard to sit there and be like, well, he's going to, have a couple bad takes, sure, but maybe he'll come around in the end.
I think you're honing on a really good point, or something that I think about all the time. The reason that people are receiving it as internet drama is because so often the people that we are looking to and allowing to talk about and make their like flagship stuff on their platform and create content about are not serious. Like y'all said earlier, these are not political people. These are not people who analyze this or who study it. These are creators. When you think about who Americans are listening to and who they want to call out as the podcast, and who they listen to and who influenced them on the election, Joe Rogan, comedians, podcast people, you know what I mean? And like, so to me, it's like, we've already allowed a much larger culture of where these people are allowed to take serious issues and things and just use it for fodder. And which another thing I wanted to say earlier when we brought up why so many people had liked Ethan before, seeing him as a good guy on this right side of things because of fair use. I have noticed a consistent trend on problematic white people somehow slipping by because they in some way were free speech champions. And I'm so tired of that, which is so obviously and often personally motivated by their desire to want to say whatever the fuck they want. Some true white shit. And taking that to mean that anything else is true. You know what I mean? I'm so tired. Every fucking time a problematic white person is on the chopping block and I go, hey, well, how'd this happen? How'd y'all end up a big fan? And then they be like, well, in the 2010s or the early 2000s, big free speech guy. And I'd be like, y'all seeing anything? Is anything adding up for us?
It's a tale as old as time. Older white person or person who was like more relevant, gets a little bit of money, and then it's all the kids that are wrong, and why can't I say what I want to say? As if this is like the crown jewel of protecting our democracy. I mean, give me a break.
Remember Alex Jones getting banned off like YouTube? People were like defending him. Oh, he should be allowed to say fuck him and fuck the bullshit he's saying. It's against the terms of service. I don't want to hear him.
Nick Fuentes, you name it.
Yeah,
right.
Like the free speech culture.
And that's my thing is it's never about, I've said it all the time, we have to stop allowing them to frame what's happening. Like we always like it's the same thing. I had a problem with culture war for what is obviously just racism and white supremacy and bigotry. They're bigots. Ain't no fucking culture war. They're bigots. And same thing I have with like free speech, right? It's not this larger mission or a commitment to free speech. They don't give a fuck about free speech. They're all they love to do is suppress. They suppress
Donald Trump
free
is locking
speech.
up people for their speech right now.
Right.
Posing a genocide.
Yeah.
Squirrel won't dream of letting your tweet be seen.
And those free speech, those so-called free speech people, nowhere to be found. Where are they speaking out against the students who are getting rounded up?
Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, the free press.
Getting rounded up for an op-ed in their school paper.
Well, if they speak out about it, they're defending, the deportations of like Mahmoud Khalil, all these free speech, like the gaming space, Asmongold, say, oh yeah, fuck them, deport them. Like it's
the
disgusting.
freedom to deport them.
Honestly, it's
freedom,
it's gonna backfire so heavy. The going after international students, which again, none of this surprised me. This is what I've been saying to people all the time. You don't think of, I was an international student. These are my exact. I said it. I've watched every like visa status I've been in come under fire this season, and everybody acted like these things only impact undocumented immigrants. Yada yada yada, as though that would change it or make it any better. And I'm like, that's not the case. It's gonna be everybody. But my problem. What really bothers me about international students being attacked on a moral level, on a personal level, it bothers me so deeply. The idea you come to a country to go to school, try to go to opportunities. They already make it impossible for international students to be able to get a work visa, to work, to actually use the degrees they let you get and make you pay exorbitantly for it. It's a painful thing. And you just have, so you don't have any recourse. There's nothing. International students have just no power to challenge anything. But what really bothers me is that it's fucking stupid, beyond being wicked, because it's going to backfire. Because for decades now, I've heard Republicans complain about our liberal arts education, these college campuses is indoctrinating their kids in XYZ. But it is true that the more educated you are, the less likely you are to be a right-wing jackass, right? Like, it's true, right? You go and get you a liberal arts education, you learn the world, you become in diverse environments, and you become a smarter person. And that's across the board for not just white people, everybody. If I had not gone and been forced, if I didn't go to my liberal arts and they made me take women's gender studies and African-American studies and all these things, I'd have been an ignorant bitch. I remember what I thought prior to going into those classes. Yep. And I said it to say, if you think that these college campuses are already the breeding ground for these radicals and these people who are, seeing the system clearly and who want to resist, what do you think happens when you target those specific, not even just the college campuses, but specifically the populations of informed, enlightened college students that already know that this is what they're protesting. This is their problem. They're calling out this level of fascism in this government and they want to resist. What do you think happens when you let them see in 4K you go after all of them across the country? Like, what do you think happens? That you're turning all of the people that you're particularly targeting. Not only are you turning them into like leaders and deities and people that people will respect and their stories will live on, but the next generation of children, like, it's only you're creating more resistance. You think because you're able to like step on people now, that what are you going to do about the generations that come that are born out of having seen this, that are educated around this, that see this on the news?
Brain drain.
Exactly.
I mean, who would want to come to the country to help us when we're fucking over people that come to the academics
are going to Canada right now.
Yeah.
From the United States.
Yeah.
Oh, the damage is going to be felt. The real damage is going to be felt years and years from now.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not going to be like, obviously it's going to be felt immediate by the specific actual people being affected, being deported, their family members who have to make decisions of where to go as well. But in terms of like what they create or what their research found or what they discovered or invented or whatever it is, or even just the knowledge they put onto others, like who are around them, we're going to feel the reverberations from what's going on now years down the line.
Yeah.
There's an immigrant that's being detained right now who is doing really important cancer research. I can't remember her name, but we're talking about people
from Brown, or I believe, right?
I think so. But it's like,
is it
these
Romeo
are people.
Ozturk?
No, not Romeo Ozturk. I can actually find the article here.
No, it's okay. I honestly, this is the problem with the news cycle moving so fast.
There's so much.
It's just so much. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is by design, obviously.
This is Kinsia Petrova, Ksenia.
Right. Yes. This is the woman who is Russian and who has spoken out against the war in Ukraine, or Russia's invasion of Ukraine, if I am remembering this correctly. And she could face like deep political persecution if she goes back to Russia and is deported there.
Right.
Yeah.
This administration is truly disgusting. But I do know that David and Bender told me that they got things to do at 4 o'clock.
We gotta jump.
You see, look at me. I respected it. I was like, let me let y'all let people do some final words so I don't just end this episode abruptly, because I know y'all want to be free.
No, I love doing this. I wish we could have done it a couple hours later or a couple hours earlier.
Bender, I'm honestly just glad you made it. I feel love that you came.
You're a father. We have you guys both.
That is true. Y'all all have children.
Real
that's
responsibilities. I mean,